I have the mindset that I think a lot of problems in the world, honestly, especially with broken people, is that growing up, they were never meant to feel seen or heard, meant to feel worthy or enough, and that they matter. When you have kids, when you become a parent, you want to become the best version of yourself because kids model what they see,
Mm-hmm.
they model their parents. And I knew I had to become a better version of myself
Mm.
so that I could model that to them.
Kill Complacency, a podcast that inspires growth and intentionality and helps you overcome your greatest obstacles.
So my guest today, I met at REI Summit last week, Maureen McCann, and she is with Spartan Invest, and she has a really cool story just on really breaking the W-2, but also getting into rentals and managing a lot of that. But Maureen, you can do a better job of telling your story than I can. So could you kind of break that down for us? How that started, what you're doing before, and what you guys are doing now?
I'd be happy to. But first and foremost, I'm just very grateful for the opportunity. I'm so glad we met at the
Mhm.
Limitless conference. I loved, you showed up with your Kill Complacency hat, and it just caught my attention right away because it's such a powerful message. And I think a lot of times complacency is a comfortable place to
Mm.
stay, but it doesn't really get you to where you want to go. And I know a lot of your listeners have dreams and aspirations. A lot of times they let fear hold them back. And hopefully the story that I share about walking through my fear to get to the other side and has delivered a beautiful life for me and the kids. So I'll give your listeners a little background. I grew up a Philly and Jersey girl and grew up modest, living. Dad was a shipbuilder. Mom was an executive secretary to a pharmaceutical company. And they were kids of the Depression. So grew up in a very scarce mindset. When you're young, you don't have the ability to filter um, what's an erroneous mindset or way of thinking,
Yeah.
right? Because you just adopt that as normal. And so I heard growing up, I heard a lot of things, probably like a lot of your listeners: turn off the lights. We don't own the electric company. Money doesn't grow on trees. And so, right, a lot of that just comes from that scarcity mindset. And you just think that that's normal, which I did for a really long time. And, so sort of subscribe to because I born in the 70s and you kind of grew up with just get a job, go to college, pay off your house, kind of the Dave Ramsey way of thinking. No debt. Debt is bad. I remember my parents saying that all the time. So I always felt like debt was really it was just a bad thing and I could never have it. And so it was where a real big transition happened, or a pivotal moment in my life happened, was a couple of things. One was as I was watching my parents um, approach retirement, and they had just kind of followed the traditional way of investing, which was just listen to your
Mhm.
financial advisor. I'm not even sure if they had one, honestly, but listen to your financial advisor, buy the products that they get
Yeah.
compensated on, and just put your money in a 401k, which was the advent. I think it was in 1972 was when the 401k was added, or
Okay.
somewhere about there. And it was put your money in a 401k, let it ride at 8%, and by the time you retire, you're going to have this great pile of money that you can live off of. That was a big myth, right? I learned that because um, the the 401k was a cheap substitute for the very expensive pension plans that corporations could no longer pay.
Hmm.
And so, but that's what I subscribed to. That's what I knew. And so, as I was watching my portfolio, it was great when it was going up, terrible when it was going down, right? And we've all had that emotional roller coaster of I'm making money, yay, I'm losing money, oh, right. And what two things happened? One, my parents were just set to retire, and the market went down, and so they either had to continue to work longer or live off less, and they had decided to live off less. And that was an aha moment for me, And I thought, I am not doing anything different than they are. And so I have to do something different if I want a different outcome. So I started doing a lot of research in real estate. I became a seminar junkie. I'm sure there's many of you out there that have gone to all the free seminars, and you get all this free information, and then they give you the 3 days pitch. And by the time you get to the third day, it's like, if you just spend $10,000, we'll make it so easy for you. And I went to so many of them, and I was like, I can do it on my own. I don't need them. I'll figure it out. I'm a smart girl.
What year is this, Maureen? How old are you?
Oh my gosh. So that had to be, okay, I've been in the industry 16 years. So I started late. So in my mid 30s, I'm in my mid 50s now. So good 20 years ago. So that was the first thing that happened, right? Was that, and I was like, I have got to do something different. Now I was working in pharmaceuticals and medical device sales, really making good money in both. Pharmaceutical sales afforded me the life of kind of leisure. I had a lot of free time still, and some freedom because I didn't work in an office. However, when I transitioned to medical device, highly intense job, 90 to 100 hours a week. And that was good when I was married, no kids. Once the kids started coming, I wasn't very good at sales or motherhood because I was stretched too thin. So I was like, let me go back to pharmaceutical sales. That was an easier gig. But then I realized, Marty, that if I'm only getting 1 to 2% raises every single year, and inflation is higher than that, I am stuck in this perpetual wheel of the rat race and never getting out. So as a drug rep, as I was driving around, I live in San Diego. As a drug rep, I would drive around. I call it windshield time.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of windshield time, made my car a university, and started listening to different, this is aging myself. There weren't even podcasts. But I remember
CDs or cassettes. It was then CDs, huh?
It was CDs actually, and I had just read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay.
Which I'm sure many of your listeners have. And in the preface of that book, Robert Kiyosaki talked about listening to 8 CDs by a gentleman by the name of Earl Nightingale. And he said that he listened to these 8 CDs over and over again. And I thought, if it worked for Robert Kiyosaki and he's wealthy, then I have to do the same thing. So I literally just listened to these CDs over and over and over again. And while I was driving around in San Diego, there are these beautiful homes in La Jolla that sit on top of this, top of these mountains that have 360-degree views of the Pacific Ocean. And my thought was, well, what do they know that I don't know? I can figure it out. Like I can learn it, but I just need to know what it is. And so, jokingly, but seriously, I was in my car and I heard about this, I think it was Millionaire Next Door. It was the first 100 callers are going to get in for free, and it was this big cattle call in LA, and I live in San Diego. So I'm like, I'm going to go to this thing. So I was like, quick dial. I was like, yeah, I got in for free. Right. And then I show up and there's like 2,000 people and we all fell for the same hook, but it didn't matter. It got me there. And that was my first course that I took on investing in real estate. And prior to that, I had come across an article that it was like, what occupations lead to very wealthy lifestyles. And I think it was like entertainer. I was like, okay, I'm not a J-Lo or a Beyonce. That's out. Not an option. Professional athlete. I was a pre-Olympic development on the pre-Olympic development team for women's soccer, but that doesn't pay much. And then it was entrepreneur or business owner and real estate investor. And I was like, that I can do. I can learn real estate. So that's kind of why I went to that cattle call up in LA, the Millionaire Next Door.
But that changed your life. I mean, it opened your eyes.
It really did, and I'll kind of do a real condensed because I know we only have so much time. So I'm going to give you the bullet points condensed version. So I went to that first seminar, in the free seminar,
Mhm.
got the pitch, and I was like, nope, not doing that. I'm not spending $5,000 or whatever it was. Then I went to several other ones, and I started picking up the pattern of, they make this is so hard that you're going to need us, so you should pay us as your coach to do this. And I was very reluctant to that idea. And then they went to a Tony Robbins event, and it was, you have to put your money in the game.
Mm.
You have to have some skin in the game if you're actually going to invest in your own education and yourself. If you get it for free, there's no value. But if you put your money in, then there is value, and you want to get value out of it. So you're going to work a little harder for it. So I did go to this, I don't know, fourth or fifth seminar, whatever it was. And third day comes, and I know the pitch is coming, and I know I have to make a decision. And the palms are sweaty, the heart is beating, and I have to make a decision. And I did. I was like, all right, it was $9,999.99 to sign up for. It was Robert Allen's course.
Mm.
And I'm not even sure if Robert Allen is still doing things. That's how long ago this was, you guys. But I was like, if I want a different outcome, I have to do something different. So I didn't have the $10,000, but I went and borrowed it from my 401k.
Mm.
And I didn't tell anybody that I was going to do it because I knew, Susie Orman was a big name at that time. And she's like, don't take your money out of the market. You're going to lose on compound interest, blah, blah, blah. But I knew I needed to do something. I didn't have any disposable income outside of, just,
Yeah.
I didn't have an extra disposable income. So I went and borrowed the money. And I wrote the check, and I remember just shaking, just nervous. I was like, my palm was sweaty, but I did it. I invested. And then here's the condensed version. Had I not invested in that course, I finished the coursework. My friend Randy, who I met at that event, because a lot of times you guys, you're like, I'm like, is this real or is this BS? Are they just selling me on this course? Like, what is this all about? But I talked to a lot of people, some experienced investors in the room, and they were like, yeah, it's actually legit information. So I met my friend Randy. Randy got me involved with another company, another mastermind, which, by the way, was $25,000 to join. He and I split it, went through Fortune Builders course, which then led me to meeting my first turnkey company based out of Memphis. Randy bought 2 properties first. I am not the jump right in right away. I'm going to sit back and I was letting Randy's money vet the system. Right? But I kept bugging him. Like if Randy was here right now,
money.
I was the second money, right? But I was like, Randy, is it working? Are you making cash flow? Because he bought a couple of rental properties. And so after a year of bugging him and proving that it worked, I went and bought my first 2 properties. Now, I was a drug rep at the time, so I wanted to figure out a way, because I was going to divorce the husband. I knew I was going to divorce the husband. And I had 3 kids under the age of 5. And I was like, I want to kick him out, keep the family house, keep the kids stable in their family home. And so I had to figure out a way to make up for the 50% that he was paying of the monthly bills. So I was like, all right, I bought these 2 properties. They were working for me. And then
Is this all a big secret in your head? Are you keeping all this to yourself, your whole plan?
I was. I kept it a secret because I didn't want any interference or any other people's opinion on what I was doing. And I didn't want anyone to say, no, that's a stupid idea.
Yeah.
So I kept it secret. So I'm glad you picked up on that. And then just condensing the story a little bit further, had I not invested in that course, met Randy, got involved with the first company in Memphis, watched Randy's money vet the turnkey rental model. I bought my 2 properties. I then, facing a divorce with 3 kids under the age of 5, had to figure out a way to make up more money. And so the company that I had bought a couple of properties from, I said, would you guys, if I hosted an event and I got doctors and their
Mm.
spouses in on a Saturday and I paid for the whole thing, would you guys come and speak? And they agreed. So on that weekend, I sold 10 houses.
Hmm.
That I had no idea what the outcome was going to be. And was it risky? Yes, but I did it anyway.
Maureen, how did you get the doctors in the room? Is that because of your pharmaceutical sales?
Yep, just because I've been in the medical, pharmaceutical med device industry for 15 years, and so they know me. And I just said, hey, and here's the other thing: I was talking to them
All
when I was
along.
visiting them
Yeah.
and asking them. I was telling them about how I was making money in real estate out of state, and they were like, they got really curious. So I was able to fill a room with about 20, 25 doctors. They wound up buying properties. The company was so impressed. They wind up hiring me.
Hmm.
I left the pharmaceutical world, started with they were really recognized as the top turnkey company in the United States.
Hmm.
So I was with them for 4.5 years. I met my business partners, Clayton Mobley and Lindsay Davis, in 2012. They had already started Spartan Invest in 2010. They were buying and renovating, but they didn't know how to sell.
Hmm.
They met me, I could sell them, and that's how the partnership formed. That was in 2012. We're now 2025. We have nearly 2,300 properties under management, all that we bought, renovated, and tenanted, and manage ourselves. Over 1,000 investors in 17 different countries. And so
Wow.
but had it not been, Marty, here's what I'll say. Had it not been for me facing my fear
Hmm.
and actually taking action, even though it scared me to do it, I did it anyway. And had I not made that decision, one, I wouldn't be here with you.
Hmm.
And two, I'd still be like some of my friends, getting laid off and rehired at lesser pay in the pharmaceutical industry, because
Mhm.
that's what's happened to them over the last 16 years.
Yeah. And we'll continue because
Yeah.
technology and AI is changing, and they're getting older, and it's just harder. So
And the older you get, the more money you make, and then they want to get rid of you because they're too top heavy, and then they need to, and so they don't really care about the experience anymore. They want to cut their budget.
Mhm.
And so you, as the most experienced, drug rep or medical device rep, they got to cut the payroll, and you're one of the first to go. And
Yeah.
I've seen that happen over and over again with a lot of my friends.
Yeah. Did you just say you guys are in 17 countries?
We're not, my investors are in 17 different
Your
countries. We're in
investors are okay, because you're mostly in the Midwest, right?
Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, what?
Yeah, no. So it just goes to show you, like, guys, a lot of investors are like, well, I have to see it. I want to come buy it. I'm like, you really don't. I'm like, if you invest in stocks, you don't go to the headquarters to talk to the CEO and see how business operations go. So the same thing with investment real estate, as long as you've got a trusted, reputable group on the ground, who's got a very good reputation,
Mhm.
years of experience, quarter after quarter of profitability, very well established in the industry, then you really don't need to. Although you're welcome, we love investors to come visit with us. Come visit our 15,000 square foot office building in downtown Birmingham, Alabama. Come meet my team of 85 plus on payroll. Come tour our properties.
Sure.
Come tour the cities. But you don't have to.
Yeah, David Green in his book, Long Distance Real Estate Investing, says you add zero value by going up to your house. Like there's no value you're adding.
There isn't. And honestly, if you ever have to get on a plane from wherever you are to go visit your properties because your property management company is unresponsive, wrong property management company.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
And we recognize, one of the things that we recognize really, really well at Spartan is we understand truly that our investors are counting on us as being good stewards of their capital.
Mhm.
And providing a return, a consistent year-over-year return on that capital. And so that's why, unlike many out there, I don't know of any other turnkey operators out there that operate as a paid for performance business model. But when Clayton, Lindsay, and I were setting up the company, we knew two very important, well, actually one very important piece of information, and that was when you look at the industries that have the highest turnover rate, restaurants are number one, property management is number two, construction is number three. So we knew we were starting a business with two out of the top three industries that have the highest turnover, and we had to come up with a business model that was going to not only attract quality talent but keep that talent so we could have consistency year after year. And so our paid for performance business model, we align our team members' KPIs with the outcomes that we want for our investors. So we bonus our team on occupancy rate, delivering 95% or higher, renewal rate 60% or higher, eviction rate 2% or lower, turn time 12 days or under. We have a third-party QA, a third-party home inspector that does QA assessments on my construction team to make sure that they're hitting 95% or higher on their QA scorecard. So there's a lot of accountability because we know that investors are counting on us to deliver a return. And if you've just got a property management company that has 9 to 5ers checking in, checking out, and just trying to get out as soon as possible to do the bare minimum, you're really not going to get the quality of service that you need. And so we knew that. That's how we set up our business model, and it's been, since 2010, it's been pretty darn successful.
Hey, I want to circle back to those because I do this. You said 95% occupancy, 60% renewal rate. 2 days.
12 days turnover.
12 days turnover. What'd you say about evictions?
2% or less.
2%. I have 2 evictions. I was like, it's not days.
Yeah, no, 2% or less on them. So we've got nearly 2,300 properties. So 2% or less is what we. So it's funny. My accounts receivable gals, they're the ones. So it's Savannah, Courtney, Keisha. They are my accounts receivable team. So they've got to have 95% of the rent collected by the 20th of the month. And they're also my lead screeners. So they screen all of the applicants. So think about this. The decision makers on who is going to be placed in the rental property, they have to do the thorough background check. And if they can keep the eviction rate under 2%, that's how they get their quarterly bonus.
That's cool.
Yeah. So accountability is really key in our culture. We have something called our Focus Friday meeting. So every 5 business days, we're measuring these metrics and many more that I'm not going to bore you with, but I kind of highlighted the important ones. Another important one is the maintenance ratio. Our Randall Van, my director of maintenance, 35 years of experience in home construction renovation. Him and his team, they are incentivized to deliver an overall maintenance ratio of 5% or less on our overall portfolio. Now we set them up for success because we replace roofs and HVACs and water heaters and upgrade electrical and plumbing, all that stuff. But he and his team have to deliver a maintenance ratio of 5% or less because we're trying to keep more money in our investors' pockets than having to go out into unnecessary large cap expenses. Wear and tear is normal. Yeah. But we're going to mitigate that risk of those large cap expenses by replacing all those up front.
And I would have a similar business model with ours because we go in and we burr them and make them all brand new. So then your maintenance is so small.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just to give you perspective, like we're a metrics driven company. So, we have brand new construction, which is an interesting story because we started our new construction company called Corinth in 2020, right during COVID, right during the supply chain issues. So much fun. But so our rehabbed houses, when you look at the average maintenance ratio, which if your listeners don't know what that means, it's really just a measure of the amount of the rent that we collect on the 2,300 plus properties and the percent of that collected gross rent that goes towards repairs, right? So we measure that weekly, but we report on it quarterly. And so for our rehabbed houses last year, 4.6% of our gross collected rent went towards repairs. On our new construction, it's 0.1%. So, I say for any of those investors that have either a high risk tolerance renovated properties are the way to go. If you have a lower risk tolerance and you want no headaches and you want very little phone calls on maintenance, then new construction is the way to go. But we offer both to help people along that continuum of risk.
That new construction will change in 10 years, though.
It will.
Stuff will wear
It
out.
will.
Yeah.
Yep. As properties age, just like in their own personal homes, there's probably things in their homes that they need. My home too, that need.
It's like driving an old car. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what my dad always said growing up. He said, you can either make the payment to the bank or you can make it to the mechanic.
Oh, that's smart. That's true. That's very good.
Yeah.
Just wanted to thank you guys for listening to the end. In closing, I just wanted to add that if this message resonates with you, if it aligns with your values and something in it today triggered something, then you can also look me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. We are really trying to help people live more intentional lives to kill the complacency with which they have subscribed to. I know there's many ways which I get sucked in all the time. So if this is beneficial, follow me there.